Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the BirdDog Investor Webinar for quarterly results ending 31 March 2023 or Q3 FY23. My name's Sam Wells from NWR Communications, and joining me today from BirdDog is founder and CEO Dan Mole, as well as CFO Barry Cownan. Following a brief summary of the quarter as released to the ASX this morning with accompanying presentation, investors and research analysts will have the opportunity to ask questions via a choice of two options. First, you can either raise your hand via Zoom should you wish to ask a verbal question of the management team, or you can submit a written question via the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We will endeavour to get to all questions, and thank you. Over to you, Dan.
Thanks very much, Sam. And firstly, welcome to our new studio. As we've mentioned a couple of times, we moved into a relatively new office just recently. And so we decided this time round to actually start living and breathing our technology. So we're now coming to you live with all of our BirdDog technology. I'll explain a bit more in a minute, but I'd like to actually roll a quick video first. So that's just a little promo reel, but what we're trying to show here is an example of the kind of use that our products can actually be used for. We talk quite a lot about the markets that we serve, whether that's live streaming or broadcast or AV, and indeed for commercial type work like we're using here. So in our studio, what we've got is our BirdDog cameras and our BirdDog software, and we're really living and breathing the kind of technology that we have. You can see there's a camera there that's pointing at me at the moment. The reality with this is where traditionally to get a broadcast or a TV style production, you'd have to use a big production truck. And what we're doing now is using just a couple of our cameras in an office space to give a much more compelling presentation. I think probably the best thing to do now, though, is actually get on with the presentation. So what we're here for today is to speak about our Appendix 4C, or the quarterly for Q3 of financial year 2023. So with this, we're really pleased with the performance of the business. Obviously, it's been a relatively challenging time over the last 6 and 12 months in general, but also for the company as well in terms of our growth and performance story. Now, what we've actually seen over the last quarter is a really significant set of events, which has in turn allowed us to return some cash back into the business and see some solidification in terms of the revenue base for the business, and give us a real strategy and also trajectory in terms of returning that business to growth as well. So I'll turn over to Barry now just to talk about the snapshot for the quarter, and then I'll get into some more details a bit later on in terms of how the growth story is moving forward.
Thanks, Dan. We're very pleased to report a net cash flow positive generation of cash from our operating activities, $1.1 million for this quarter. That compares to a break even for the PCP quarter and a $4 million Aussie dollar swing from the December quarter, which recorded a negative 2.9. Some of that, of course, cash flow position has been improved via the inventory reduction through Q3. I'll talk a little bit about that, and also that we've had minimal new inventory deposits. Certainly the only deposit we did was for the new X series camera, and we did that at the end of March. So with our recorded revenue of $7.6 million for the quarter, that is plus 1% on the PCP. But more importantly for us, I think it underpins that we've had now 3 consecutive quarters of $7.5 million Aussie in revenue, September 22, December 22, and now March 23. Importantly, the March the swing from the December 22 quarter to the March 23 quarter is a very small -1%. If we compare that to the December 21 and March 22 quarter, that was a -32%. So we think we've got an absolute base for our revenues. In terms of our financial position, we've got a really strong cash position at almost $21 million. The inventory has reduced since the half year, that is inside 90 days, by 12% to be under $18 million now. And in terms of our working capital, that remains very healthy, north of $41 million, and net assets at 44. In terms of our territorial revenue, the US, or North America more specifically, has been certainly stable between the December 22 quarters and the March 23. And in terms of PCP, just marginally positive at 2%. UK and Europe really pleasingly at 5.5% up on PCP and 10% on the December quarter, which is very pleasing. In terms of Asia Pacific, yes, we're slightly down, but in terms of that Q2 for FY23, that 37% is really chips and boards, which is a componentry factor to our sales, not our core sales. LATAM is a small market, but it is growing, and we're pleased about that. And from a totality perspective, we are that +1% on PCP, and fractionally down on that on the December quarter, but very favourable against 12 months ago at -32. So we're very pleased. We've got a stable platform of revenue, and we're looking forward to a return to growth.
Thanks very much, Barry. And I think probably one last thing to point out with this is the PCP is fairly solid, but actually looking at it quarter on quarter. So coming out of last quarter into this quarter, traditionally our December quarter is the strongest. So the fact that our March quarter was really right up there is actually really encouraging for us as a business. So what I'd like to do now is switch gears a little bit into what's been happening recently with the business and how that underpins where we see things going. So just recently, in fact, a week ago, we had a trade show, which is the #1 trade show in the broadcast and live production space over at Las Vegas. It's called NAB. So we were attending that, and it's a really good kind of view into the industry, where things are heading, what the trends are. And the great thing with that is, from our point of view, our booth was really well attended. In fact, one of the really good measurements is if your booth is busy at the very start of the show, it means you're a destination booth. And I'm pleased to say that we were absolutely busy from the moment the show started. Really exciting. We used this opportunity to launch a number of new strategic products for the business, and that comes back to that growth story about where we're looking to grow the business. An important point to note is over the last quarter, we didn't have any significant new product announcements, and we had that stable business that we've seen through there. With these new products, and in fact there's a new camera here which I've got, which is called the X120. This is our brand new camera. It's designed to fit into a market space which is a higher volume but somewhat more price sensitive. The great news with this is the margins that we produced on this camera are actually higher than our core products, and has some really significant features for our customers that's going to drive that to be the go-to camera in that market. So we really see that X120 as being a driver for growth as soon as this ships. One of the really underpinning features of our NAB show was we only wanted to show products that were available either right now or within the next 6 weeks. So this product here that we've just shown, the X120, is available within this quarter, and we've already seen a great deal of pre-orders going with that, and we're absolutely excited to say that from announcement to manufacturing to delivery will all happen within this 1 quarter for the very first shipment of this product. We might just roll a really quick promo video of this, and then I'll get into a bit more detail on some other products. So I'm conscious there's a lot of acronyms there, but believe me, that really flies within the industry. And actually what we're doing here is designing a whole workflow. You would have seen some other little sneak peeks of some other products in there, things like the applications that we build for iPads and iPhones. BirdDog's story and the real differentiator with our products is that we're actually creating a whole solution for customers. And this X120 is no different with that in terms of how we're approaching it. A couple other really quick highlights of the show before I get back into some of the structural parts of the business. We released a new piece of software which is called Fleet Manager. This one is actually really exciting, not for the revenue associated with the software itself, but the market that it actually unfolds. It's a Fleet Manager software which is designed for enterprise class installations, so our much larger customers, and it's a real enabler to make sure that people can scale up and control large amounts of BirdDog devices on a network. And this is something that really is an enabler for the future in terms of some of those much larger installations we've got. Another exciting announcement we had is our iOS and Android applications. In fact, the iOS application, which is for iPads and iPhones, we launched it on the day that we announced it, so it's available in the App Store, and it's gone straight to 5-star ratings. I actually had 4.8 there from yesterday, but it's gone up to 5-star this morning with our customer satisfaction on that. That's a commercial application that we're charging for, and it's another revenue stream for the business. So as we start to advertise this and build that up, that's going to add additional revenue in terms of add-on sales to our core hardware products. The reason I attended the show was actually more around partnerships and OEMs. One of the big amplifiers for BirdDog in terms of how we're going to grow the business is having that partnership, having the ability to have our products built into larger systems and working within a larger ecosystem. And I'm pleased to say those meetings went exceptionally well, and I'm really excited about some forthcoming announcements that will happen over the course of this quarter as well from that. So moving forward, talking about our outlook in terms of where we see things going over the next quarter and then really to the end of the year, we have a number of different programs that we're working on which are detailed here. There's 6 real core functions that we think are going to grow the business and contribute to the positive outlook. The first side of things is product is first. We're a product company, we make technology. One of the things that we've really been pioneers in is making sure that we are first with everything we do. It's enhancing people's technology, it's being a first mover in this space. The great news is we have a real catalogue of new products coming up. You know, the X120 that we've just announced is the first of many of those things that we're sure will continue to drive that first mover advantage. Keeping in mind that our core business has become stable, adding these new products is incremental growth to the business. So we're really excited about what that can do. In addition to that, opening up new markets. Our core markets really are the US and Europe. We've had some really good success stories with that turnaround in Europe, and we're continuing to nurture that to make sure that we continue to see growth there. Other areas like the Southeast Asia, China and the Middle East, we've been relatively modest in our growth there, and we're really excited about what we're doing. We've signed on some new distribution partners that as we nurture those, train them up and make them able to sell our products, especially with these new products that are potentially a little more price sensitive. It gives us a great opportunity again to amplify that growth. I've mentioned a couple of times about that stabilised revenue. I think in itself that's a good story that shows there's underlying demand for our current products in our current markets. Mm-hmm. Expanding out those markets and expanding out those products is all good news from there. Speaking of news, we have a significant amount of news flows happening through the rest of this quarter. That's going to continue to keep eyes on our products, our company, and ultimately our solutions that we provide for our customers. We've got some great announcements coming up around partnerships with key industry leaders, as well as some OEM agreements. And this is really a licensing play, and there's some really interesting activity that's happening with that allows us again to extend the reach of BirdDog products. One thing that was really interesting, and I've gone on from the slide, the NAB slide, that trade show, one of the key pieces of interest on our booth, which is a real change, is that cloud-based solutions. We've seen a big uptick in the amount of interest in those cloud solutions. And the great thing is these partnerships and OEMs are filtered around that as well. Another exciting piece of work that we've been doing is what we're calling Project Moose, which is the launch of our advanced assembly and manufacturing in Canada. This is a really strategic move that's become quite topical. With making our products, currently they're made in China and they're sold around the world, which is in line with most other vendors that are similar to us. By moving that production over to Canada, it gives us some great opportunities to go into US government in the form of GSA or government agreed contracts. But becoming more topical is that Chinese-made products is becoming harder to sell into other government areas. So having all of our products transition over to made in Canada is a real unique opportunity for us, and we really feel we're ahead of the curve from that side of things. There's been some great activity on that in the last couple of months, and we're expecting again some really meaningful updates on that to turn into products within this calendar year. The final piece, which is really around overall growth of the business, is expanding into neighbouring markets. And I'm pleased to say that only 6 months ago we launched and spoke about our intention to go into the medtech market. And actually at the end of March this year, we launched that publicly into the medtech market with our product called Remedy. Now that's produced a huge amount of interest, and we're really excited at the uniqueness that solution has, which uses all of the power and all of the IP that we've already built within BirdDog and pivots it into a new market. It's showing a great deal of promise, and we're still very excited about the revenue that it can drive and the growth for the business that can attribute to it. So we're expecting to see some revenue within that. We spoke about within this calendar year. I think we're actually expecting now to see revenue within that attributed in next quarter. So again, it's a key part of the growth of the business, which goes on addition to our core market, in addition to our new products. In terms of where we're heading, we're positioned really strongly for a return to growth. There's obviously been some challenges out there in the market, in our industry specifically, but also just macroeconomics. What we have seen though is our technology, the IP that we've built in the business is truly unique and allows us to pivot and add features that are just frankly impossible for a lot of our competitors. The fact that we build solutions for our customers, again, is a really unique part of things. The way we can rapidly expand into new markets has been evidenced by the Remedy solution, the fact that we launched into that market 6 months ago and now we're commercialised within there. And of course that back catalogue of new products throughout the year. That new camera that we announced that's become extremely popular already is the first of a series of cameras we'll be releasing throughout the year, as well as other software and cloud-based solutions which give us that ongoing recurring revenue. The other part of the business we've been really spending a lot of time on is the operational cost base of the business and the optimising of that. And that's been a really great exercise. We're a very finely tuned machine in terms of the people that we have, the processes that we have in place, and our go-to-market. And that's a real advantage in the fact that we can get our products to market very swiftly in a really exciting way. So I'm really excited about where we're heading in terms of the position we're in now and what that is pointing us towards. The strategy remains the same of the business though, really, which is build that base, which is our foundation in our key markets. Our products are available through our core business all over the world. Adding into that additional markets like AV and medical adds additional step growth into the business. Our next step, which we've been speaking about, is this cloud-based deployment. And I'm really pleased about the amount of interest we're getting in terms of our cloud-based solutions on the back of the NAB show and some of the partnerships we're working at, which is going to amplify and also continue that revenue beyond just that point product sale into an ongoing recurring revenue. And we're really seeing that really start to solidify in terms of the customer's expectations and our product solutions that we deliver. All of this lays the foundation for us to then take that and move into additional markets and grow the business further. I guess what I'm trying to say here is we have a huge amount of opportunity within our core market with our products that we already have and the roadmap we have. But then we also have neighbouring markets that can really grow significantly as we move forward over the next 12 months. I've used this slide a number of times within our presentations, which is our BirdDog universe. And this kind of, I guess, centres around the types of products or the types of markets that we're in and highlight some of the partnerships. As a company, we're very much about making sure our products are not within a walled garden, that they work with other products and they provide true solutions for our customers. Our core market or our traditional market is live production, and we were the first NDI signatory, and actually NDI was the first product that we delivered. So it's been a really great story there to have that live production space really grow over time, and that's really scaled up pretty significantly over the last little while in terms of the relationship and also the access to markets. Post-production and our Adobe relationship is getting stronger by the week, and that's one of the announcements we'll be working at when we have some more meaningful information around that. But post-production is really Hollywood film and television type work, and our solutions are very much at home there as well, and there's a great deal of opportunity within that market. We've spoken previously about education. This again is a really exciting piece of where we're heading. The education sector had a little bit of a slowdown in terms of how they were deploying large-scale installations, and what we're seeing now is a turnaround in the interest in those solutions, but also the projects that are now starting to be planned in. So we're expecting to see education really feature significantly more over the course of this financial year. This calendar year. And the last piece is corporate AV. Again, that's gone through a bit of a step change in terms of the types of deployments that are going on. The last 12 months has seen very low cost kind of Zoom room type setups with integrated soundbar systems. Now what we're seeing is a truly integrated systems being spec'd, and that's where we can deliver a truly unique setup. Having that Zoom partnership really amplifies that as well. So with that brings us to the end of the presentation piece of this webinar, and I'd like to hand over now to Sam, and we'll work through some Q&As.
Great. Thank you very much, Dan and Barry. First couple of questions coming through on cloud. How many active paying subscribers are using BirdDog Cloud, and can you elaborate on the proportion of revenues this makes up?
Yes, so Cloud at the moment is designed as an add-on to our existing products. So the amount of active users is in the hundreds, not thousands. But what we actually are doing is building that into all of our products, and that becomes an on-ramp to enable that to amplify in terms of logarithmically scale. So right now it doesn't contribute a meaningful part of the business. It does produce regular revenue, and that is growing, amplifying that with the likes of the Adobe partnership, and also with our applications that we've launched that go on all the mobile devices, gives us a great opportunity to start growing that really effectively now as we've launched those at NAB.
Great, thank you. And will Cloud move towards a full production suite, including mixing of video?
So that's an interesting question. As a company, what we have built ourselves on is providing the tools that are as close to the glass as possible. And by that I mean the cameras themselves, we have the lens at the front of that camera. We're turning that into digital and ultimately into cloud-based immediately. And then at the other end, we're providing the TV-based distribution. And that leaves a piece in the middle for creative tools, because every single market has different tools. If we were to bring in one system that only did one set of production, we're actually limiting ourselves. So the shorter answer is right now, we're not actually looking at putting that creative tool in there. That's all about our partnerships that can amplify our solution from there.
Great, thank you. On return to growth, of the elements supporting your planned return to growth, what would you say is the most important or significant driver?
I think probably two. There's many important drivers within there. Of course, there's the new markets, things like Remedy, but I think that's probably a little more prospective. So in terms of the actual return to growth, it's the markets that we're in and engaging further with those. So over the last 6 months, we've employed a significant amount of agency reps in the US that allow us greater access to the markets in the US, nurturing Europe, but also turning on those additional territories like China and other parts of the subcontinent. They're really important in driving the underlying business. The fact that they're existing products that we know and it's selling more of those drives a real solid growth in the business. The other part of things, which is very strategic, is of course the new products that we have and making sure that we are always ahead of the curve. It's not about just making an entire catalogue of products and consistently bringing out more. It's about making sure we bring the right products to the market that are truly disruptive. And we're really confident that that's going to continue and drive that growth.
Great, thank you. From an inventory perspective, you've consistently messaged an unwind of inventory through the calendar year, which is assisting cash generation. Would you expect this to occur at a consistent rate for the remainder of the year or accelerate?
I might answer.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Certainly at a consistent rate inside the macroeconomic environment that we can't control. So we don't see that accelerating beyond the 12% that we've achieved over the last 90 days, but certainly relatively consistent on a quarter by quarter, so that by the end of the December 23 quarter, we're at sub 3 months, maybe 3.5 months in terms of inventory turn.
Great, thank you. Next question on CCTV market. Have you explored the CCTV and security camera market post the Australian government crackdown on China manufactured equipment? And do you have a lower cost camera to compete in this segment?
Again, great questions and really observant of where we sit in the market. From our point of view, absolutely, and that's part of our strategy with moving towards a Canadian production. And actually, this new series of cameras, these X series of cameras that we just announced at NAB, that forms part of the strategy to be able to move into neighbouring markets, including CCTV and security. We have some really key technology within there, including AI-based image tracking. So that will play out as we start to move into the Canadian manufacturing side of things.
Great, thank you. And just on the demand environment, can you help us understand the pull-through of demand seen in 2021, 2022, and how distributors and customers are now restocking or why they're buying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the buying market kind of changed over time. As we all know, there was supply chain constraints in the world, and so effectively whatever we could build, our distributors were wanting to put on their shelves to make sure they had it rather than their competitors. So there was really a stocking up. As we stocked up our inventory, there was also a stocking up in the distributors. What we've seen over the last 6 months is that change a little bit in terms of the distributors' appetite for holding X amount of days of stock. And that's somewhat contributed to what we've seen as far as a bit of a slow patch. It's not actually showing the overall pull-through demand, but what it's showing is the actual the wholesale stock holdings have kind of slowed down in terms of the amount of days they would like to stock. Our distributors have gone from 90 days down to 60 days, for example. So there's a bit of a reset there. What we have seen, though, in terms of the pull-through from customers is that actually is starting to become certainly stable, if not increasing a little bit as well on our core products. So we've had a bit of a reset over the last few months where distributors are starting to reduce their inventory, which obviously affects our sell into those distributors. But the pull-through into the market has remained somewhat stable. Now that that whole market has kind of reset, we're expecting that to continue to grow from there in terms of the pull-through from customers.
Great, thank you. And just on medtech, seems like you're making some pleasing progress. What would you say you're more optimistic on this opportunity than you were?
Yes, sorry, I'm assuming we can still hear you. In terms of optimism on medtech, I would say absolutely. We knew we had a great idea, and we've certainly been working with key opinion leaders within the medtech industry who were particularly excited about it. What's happened as we've gone to market within that industry is the explosion of interest we've had from medtech and med device companies, as well as from hospitals. So at the moment, it's a matter of scheduling in demos to make sure that we can actually get to those customers. So by all means, I'm feeling more buoyant about the medtech remedy solution than I was previously, even though we knew that we had a really unique solution at the beginning.
Great, thank you. That brings us to the end of the Q&A for today. So Dan and Barry, I'll pass it back to you for some closing comments.
Thanks very much for that, Sam. So hopefully today's been interesting for you. Obviously, we've got the structural side of things that we're pleased to report that we're generating cash, and we've got a stable base for growing from here. The other thing which hopefully is shown across from this webinar is our technology really can amplify and show a whole lot better solution in terms of getting that communication out. Where previously we've done our webinars and they've been a typical Zoom boardroom type one, the fact that now we can have a lot more interaction, a lot more graphics and make it a TV-like experience really shows what the BirdDog solutions can do. So hopefully that's come across, and yeah, from here on in you'll see more and more elaborate productions that are coming from this in a way that can hopefully tell the story a lot better. So from here, all I'd like to do is thank you very much for your support so far. We're very excited about where the business is moving and certainly very pleased with where the business is now. So thanks very much for listening and look forward to doing the next webinar soon.